Okay, so I'm going to talk you through creating one of these layers with to demonstrate how to use a layer mask. So first of all, I'm going to I've got the Marianne Delphine PSD open, which is the one we were working on before. Let's move these sheets over. And the layer we're going to work on is the soft skin layer, which is this one here. And my it's called blur in brackets soft skin / face close brackets. And I've called it original because we're going to make another one of these, and obviously I want to know which one was the original one, so I can turn it off. So it's this one here, and I can kind of turn it on and off. And if you can see, the face gets progressively smoother when I turn the layer on. So we're going to recreate that. So let's just zoom back in a bit. Okay, so I've turned that layer off. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to copy this cleaned up layer. Now this is a layer or an image that's been cleaned up with a clone tool and other sort of painting tools. So it's a clean layer. It's like exactly how I wanted it. So I'm going to move that just below the layer which I turned off, and I'm going to turn it on. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to make a selection, and what I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the magic wand tool, and this is going to allow me to select all the white in her face, or at least most of it. So I'm going to select about there, and that's grabbed a little bit. And I'm also going to, with most tools, is if you hold the shift key down, it adds to what you've already done. So you'll notice that the wand tool, which is here on our chin, when I hold the shift key down, it has a little plus, which means that if I click there, it will add to the selection I've already got, which is exactly what I want. So it's done that. It's worth bearing in mind, or saying again, that I've set the tolerance for 50, and that's kind of about right. If you wanted to select more, then the tolerance would go up. If you wanted to select less, it would go down. And what it's doing is the tolerance is like from the point which you click at, it's a tolerance of colour or brightness in either direction. So the more tolerance, the greater the amount of change can sort of go either way. Okay, so I've got my selection now. I don't want it to have these sharp edges which it's got around the selection, so I need to soften that. And the one way to do that is to feather the edges. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go up to Select, Modify. So I want to essentially modify my selection, and I'm going to hit Feather. Now I've already set this up for 15, but if you haven't got 15, that's kind of about what I want to use. You could there again have more, give you a more soft edge, less will give you less soft edge. So 15 is about right for this image, and you can see it's smoothed it out. And you can't really see exactly how it smoothed it out, but you will in a second. So I've got that image there, and I've got my selection. So now what I'm going to do is create my mask. So I'm going to hit my mask tool, which is down at the bottom of this here, down at the layers palette, and you can instantly see it's created my mask for me, which means that all the black is essentially got rid of, and only the white, which is just the face, is showing. I can demonstrate that by turning everything else off. It's just her face I've selected. So I'm going to turn that back on, turn this back on. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is duplicate this cleaned up layer again and move that once again underneath the other one I created. I'm going to turn it on. Now I'm going to go up to filters, and I'm going to convert this into so I can use smart filters, because I want to be able to blur it so that the face is blurred, and then essentially put that over the top of the regular image, so it's just her face that has been smoothed out and not the whole of her body. I'm going to go smart filters. It's going to ask me some question there, but that's just okay, so I'm going to do that. And you'll notice that the icon changed down here, and it's got this other little symbol in the corner, and that means that it's now a smart layer. which means I can add filters to it. So I'm going to go ahead and add a filter. So I'm going to go up to blur, Gaussian blur. I want kind of use 3.6, so that's okay. And you'll note that the filters come up here underneath the image. And what I can do is I can actually turn this on and off, this Gaussian blur. I'll turn all the layers above it off. It's a bit easier. So by turning this on and off, this blur is affecting this image on this layer, but it's not actually affecting it forever, it's just turning it on and off. Okay, so I got that. So now what I want to do is I want to apply the mask which I created before onto this image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Apple and click on it, and that's going to select the selection which I had before. And now I'm going to make a layer mask on this particular layer, which is the blurred layer. So I'm going to hit this button down the bottom, which is the mask, layer mask, and it's done the same thing. Now this image, this one here that we did before, we can actually delete that now. We don't need that. So now we've got a layer which just blur a face, and if you can see, it's actually pretty strong. I'm going to turn all the colour correction back on just so it looks nice, and you can actually see that it's kind of blurring around these kind of sort of makeup effects, which I don't really want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the layer mask. I'm going to go to my paintbrush, and that's a massive brush. So I'm going to hold Control down and make that a bit smaller. And the hardness I want to be quite soft, so let's go to about 20, 18%. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint black to reveal or to get rid of the blurred image. Probably want the opacity of this brush to be about 50%. Don't want it to be too strong. I'm just doing around the eyelids because I want to keep the detail of the eyelids, otherwise it looks a bit too fake. Go again around the nose. You're essentially trying to keep edges nice and crisp, to keep the illusion that it's not been photoshopped, or it hasn't been photoshopped as much. Okay, so now if I turn this layer on and off, you can see it affects. See, it maybe affects this bit of hair here a bit too much. Turn it on and off. There's maybe a bit around this lip. Okay, so there you go. I think that's pretty much it. We'll smooth their face. Obviously, you know, it's important to name your layers, so you can double click on the name and change it to whatever you want. Blur, soft. Oh. Soft skin smash face. Okay. The spacebar doesn't seem to work, but there you go. That's how you do it.